Okay, hi, hello. Today we are going to be asking and trying to answer 3 Pokemon questions. Number 1, is Pokemon The Legends of Arceus going to have shiny Pokemon? Number 2, which we'll find out sooner rather than later, is the new Pokemon Snap going to have shiny Pokemon? And number 3, this is the question that actually matters, which kind of makes the other 2 questions a little irrelevant, is do shiny Pokemon even matter in Pokemon games? Probably safe to say that Pokemon Legends of Arceus will have shiny Pokemon since it is a main series game, but we're going to look at other games in order to try to back that up the best we can. The other game we're going to look at is Pokemon Snap, a game that comes out relatively soon and that we've seen no sign of shiny Pokemon for, but again, a game possible to have shiny Pokemon in. But the point of today's video isn't really to say like, oh, we were right or wrong about Pokemon Snap or Legends of Arceus. It's kind of more deeper than that in the sense of, do shiny Pokemon even matter in Pokemon games coming out? And I think for that, we can look at other Pokemon games that have existed, look at their reception, look at the fans are still playing, not playing, what they talked about, and a couple other factors to maybe kind of jump to a conclusion. Let's start off with a game that I think most of you guys remember, a game called Pokemon Quest. Pokemon Quest did have shinies. In fact, every single Pokemon in the game could be shiny. And for the most part, people really enjoyed that. When Pokemon Quest was first shown, which was around the same time Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee was shown on stage, was also the same time that the Pokemon Company announced there was a upcoming game after Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, which we soon found out that was Sword and Shield. Pokemon Quest kind of got a really bad reputation off the bat just based on looks alone. And I don't think that this game would have done as well as it did if it was a paid game, but they released Pokemon Quest for free. They then sold DLC, little expansions, and items that you could, speed up the clock and decorate your park with. So I don't work at Game Freak or the Pokemon Company or any company that makes Pokemon games, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint whether a game is successful or not successful because of one specific mechanic. So in this case, shinies. If we were to look at Twitch viewership and Twitch numbers for a game, while that doesn't represent the entire audience because Twitch is such a small part of the Pokemon fandom, it does show us an audience that we can use. And if we look at some numbers, when Pokemon Quest was released in May, of course it had an explosion of viewers, and the next month it dramatically dropped in viewers, and then the next month it dropped again. You could then argue ever since its initial release, it's been quote-unquote a dead game. Now, no shade to Pokemon Quest. I really, really like Pokemon Quest. I think it's great. And the argument for why shinies should be in every Pokemon game is because it adds replayability. And I do not disagree with that point. But I do fundamentally disagree with the fact that every Pokemon game going forward needs shinies because, quote, it will sell more. I don't think that's the case. In the situation for Pokemon Quest, did shinies keep it alive for a little bit longer than 2 months? Yeah, maybe, but I strongly believe that initial explosion of that game would have still been the same, regardless of if Quest had shinies or not. This leads us to a second game that had shinies that no one really cared about, to the point where it closed down, and that game is Pokemon Duel. Pokemon Duel was released, at least in North America, Europe, and Australia, in January of 2017. The game was, I don't know why I said 2017, so weird. The game was then discontinued on October 31st, 2019. You can no longer play it. While it did last a little while, and while it did have a handful of shiny Pokemon that you could get, shiny Ho-Oh, shiny Rayquaza, shiny Greninja, shiny Genesect, shiny Umbreon, Jolteon, Espeon, these are fan favorite Pokemon, shiny Mimikyu, I don't think the introduction of shinies in that game pushed anyone towards playing it. Which kind of leads to the argument of, will the new Pokemon Snap have shinies? Whether or not it has shinies, it's still going to sell the same. I'm not sure if there's somebody sitting in front of their computer right now watching this video being like, I'm only going to buy it if it has shinies. But where do you draw the line? Is it one shiny? Is it 50 shinies? Is it they all can be shiny? And does that actually matter? This can take us to another mobile game, which is Pokemon Masters, a game I really enjoy, a game that has just celebrated its 1.5-year anniversary, finally added Diantha to the game. But the interesting thing about Pokemon Masters launched with no shiny Pokemon. after a couple months of the game being out, they introduced an egg system, and you could incubate eggs, kind of like you could in Pokemon Go, and then those eggs would hatch, and they could or could not be shiny. The first shiny being introduced in the game was a shiny Tauros. Not sure why, but... So the question for you all watching, if you're still watching, is with a game that is still fairly popular, Pokemon Masters, and a game that is still getting updates, and a game that is still... at least being acknowledged by the Pokemon Company, because Pokemon Duel for quite a while was kind of pushed to the side. Did the introduction of Shinies in Pokemon Masters, was that enough to convince you to play Pokemon Masters if you haven't? I'd be actually really curious in the comments below if you have played Masters, and if after they introduced Shiny Pokemon in Masters, if that was enough to draw you into the game. Because if your answer is no, or if your answer is yes, we can apply that to other Pokemon games, such as Legends of Arceus and the new Pokemon Snap. So now, while Pokemon Quest, Pokemon Duel, and Pokemon Masters are all kind of unique in the sense that they're relatively new, it was the first of their kind, we can look at another series, a series that I would say is relatively popular, or at least the fans of the series are very vocal, and that would be the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. In Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, Shiny Celebi was a part of the story, although you could not get shinies in that game. In the Mystery Dungeon for WiiWare, there were 36 Pokemon that could be shiny and obtained. Gates to Infinity, you could get a shiny Ho-Oh in that game. Super Mystery Dungeon, the Shiny Celebi returned. And then the newest one, which I guess is the game we would actually look at here, because it came out on Switch, and the two new Pokemon games that we are talking about are coming out on Switch, is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, which was kind of put on us suddenly. A lot of people wanted a remake of Mystery Dungeon, but didn't actually expect the Pokemon Company to follow through, but they did. And it is possible to recruit shiny Pokemon using the friend bow in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, although you're still not guaranteed to catch the shiny and add it to your team, even if you had met the requirements and have equipped the friend bow. But I don't think the introduction personally, and again, would love to hear your guys' thoughts, I don't think the introduction of shinies in Mystery Dungeon convinced anyone who had played the previous Mystery Dungeon games to try this one, just because of the introduction. Just because this game had shinies. I knew going in, and I love shiny Pokemon, that I wasn't a big fan of the Mystery Dungeon games. Something about it didn't do it for me. I thought they were cute. I think they're incredibly charming, and I wanted to go into Mystery Dungeon liking it, but even knowing that I could capture shiny Pokemon and add them to my team near the end still wasn't enough to convince me to get through the gameplay, which I didn't really enjoy that much. Now, another argument that I've heard is, well, every recent Pokemon game has had shinies, so the obvious answer would be Legends of Arceus would have shinies, and the new Pokemon Snap would have shinies, because what recent Pokemon game hasn't had shinies? And to answer that, it would be Pokken Tournament and Pokken Tournament DX were two Pokemon games released relatively recently, well, at least the DX version for the Nintendo Switch, and they did not have any shiny Pokemon. That being said, you can't necessarily catch any Pokemon in that game, but you could make that argument to the new Pokemon Snap. You're not necessarily well, I guess the game's not out yet, but I'm assuming you won't be able to catch Pokemon. You could take pictures of those Pokemon. There was also, in 2019, a game called Pokemon Rumble Rush that maybe not a lot of people remembered because it only lasted about a year on mobile devices, but Pokemon Rumble Rush also was a game that didn't have any shiny Pokemon, although maybe you could make the argument because it didn't have shiny Pokemon, might have hurt it. But I don't think that's the case. I think the easy thing to point to is it doesn't matter if the Pokemon game itself has shiny Pokemon if you don't necessarily enjoy the gameplay or the game itself. And I think now pointing this out in the video of, hey, have you played Masters? Did shinies convince you? Even if you do like shiny Pokemon, if you don't personally like the gameplay of Masters, you'd skip it. Same for Mystery Dungeon. Same for people who might have played the original Pokemon Snap, and even though they might be the biggest shiny hunters in the world, probably not enough to convince them to get the new Pokemon Snap, assuming that the new Pokemon Snap would have shinies. We can also look at games like Pokemon Conquest, a game that I absolutely loved and adored. That game was Also a game without shinies playable, although one of the boss characters in that game, no spoilers, does have a shiny Pokemon that they use against you. There was also Pokemon Shuffle, a delightful 3DS and mobile game that was puzzle-based, kind of like Bejeweled or Candy Crush, that did feature a bunch of shiny Pokemon. Again, ask yourself the question, was the shiny Pokemon in Shuffle enough for you to go and play that game, or do you just not like puzzle games, so it doesn't matter if it had shinies or not, you skipped it? So overall, with recent releases of Pokemon games, it seems that most of them have had shiny Pokemon, with the exception of Pokemon Tournament DX, which came out on the Nintendo Switch. I would say that's relatively new. And Pokemon Rumble Rush, which closed and shut down after a full year. Those are the two games, at least in recent memory, that kind of missed introducing or having shiny Pokemon in their game. But if we were to look at other recent games that did have shiny Pokemon, Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Go, and even a game like Cafe Mix, are the introduction of shinies, or the ability to get shinies in those games, enough to drive players to play them and or purchase them, in the case of some of those games being $60 versus some of those games being free? And that brings us back to the initial question of, will Pokemon Legends of Arceus have shinies? Whether I am right or wrong, I would say it is probably very, very safe to say that that game will have shinies based on main series Pokemon games not missing out on that. From everything we know right now, that is considered a main series Pokemon game. But the more interesting question is, will Pokemon Snap have shinies? We do know that it has the glowing Pokemon, the Illuminati? I think it's Illumini. The Illumini Pokemon that they did make in earlier trailers seem like something very hard to get. Although in a recent press release, that seems like there's an item to turn them into that glowing thing. So I guess if you want an answer from me, or whether it will be yes or no, I would lean more towards yes, just based on what they have done with the Mystery Dungeon series and other recent games of introducing maybe not all the Pokemon being shiny, but some of the Pokemon being shiny. I think that might be a safer bet. That is a tougher question, but I guess we'll find that out sooner rather than later, since that game is around the corner. But I think overall, we answered all three questions of Pokemon Legends, Pokemon Snap, and do shinies even matter? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. Do you really like shiny Pokemon enough to play a game that you might not actually enjoy? And I guess that's where we'll leave it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I would feel free. I know there's probably going to be a lot of discussion on this video compared to my other videos, because I did ask that open-ended question. Feel free to leave a comment below. I try to respond to everyone. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button. There's some other videos over to the side that you can like. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.